Okay, picture this for a second. You're grinding up this incredibly steep, lung-busting climb, right? Then, seamlessly, you're weaving your way through these gnarly, totally unpredictable rock gardens. And before you know it, you're sprinting out of a tight corner. It is a wild, physically demanding ride. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the top insights from the Peak Performance Mountain Biking Training Guide to really help you master all that chaos.
So let me just ask you this directly. Do you want to climb stronger and descend with way more confidence? Because look, if you're trying to push past your current plateaus and actually finish your weekend rides feeling, less completely exhausted, simply riding your bike more isn't always going to cut it. To truly progress, we really need a targeted approach to how you're training, both on and off the trail. So here is our agenda for today. We've transformed the source material into a super simple 4-part blueprint. We'll be covering building your aerobic engine, fortifying your body's chassis, mastering technique and recovery, and finally, the weekly training blueprint.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, building your aerobic engine or building your powerhouse. You got to think of your heart and lungs as the actual engine of your bike. And upgrading that engine, well, it requires two entirely different approaches. On one side, you've got interval training. These are your short, punchy, super high-intensity efforts that basically train your body to recover quickly. Then on the other side, we have long endurance rides. These are those slow, steady burns lasting anywhere from 60 to 120 minutes. Those longer rides are what build up your baseline stamina, and they actually teach your body to utilize fat for energy. That's exactly what makes those epic all-day sessions in the saddle feel so much more comfortable.
Now, as you know, mountain biking rarely lets you just sit there and pedal at one steady pace. The trail is chaotic, so your training really needs to mimic that. The structure here is pretty simple. You warm up for 10 minutes, ride hard for just 1 minute, and then recover at an easy pace for 2 minutes. Repeat that whole cycle 6 to 10 times, and finish up with a 10-minute cooldown. It's fast, it's punchy, and it perfectly simulates the constant, unpredictable changes of a real trail, which rapidly boosts your cardio.
And then we have the engine upgrade that absolutely everyone loves to hate, hill repeats. Look, if you want to become a significantly stronger climber, the guide suggests finding a climb that takes roughly 2 to 5 minutes. Ride up at a really challenging pace, and then just use the descent as your recovery. Do this 5 to 8 times. It sounds brutal, I know, but this workout specifically develops immense leg strength and cardio. But maybe even more importantly, it teaches you exactly how to pace yourself on those massive climbs so you don't just burn out halfway up.
Moving on to part 2. Fortifying your body's chassis for strength and stability.
So if your heart and lungs are the engine, your physical body is the bike's suspension system, and it needs immense strength, stability, and flexibility to absorb all that endless trail chatter. Now don't worry, you don't need to become some competitive bodybuilder here, but you do need to hit those compound movements: squats, lunges, deadlifts, step-ups, and glute bridges. Honestly, just 2 strength sessions a week focusing on these specific movements will massively increase your power and your resistance to injury. Because strong legs power your climbs, while strong hips provide that absolutely crucial stability when the terrain gets incredibly rough.
The next crucial layer of that chassis is your core. And let's be clear, we aren't doing planks, side planks, bird dogs, dead bugs, Russian twists just to look fit for the summer. Core work actually keeps you centered directly over the bike frame. A super strong core reduces your overall fatigue, it supports a much more aggressive climbing posture, and it drastically increases your bike control when things inevitably get slippery out there.
To finish out the chassis, we have to talk about balance and mobility. The trail is just constantly challenging your balance, right? So incorporating single leg stands, single leg squats, and Bosu ball exercises is a total game changer. Combine that with some highly focused mobility work for your hips, hamstrings, lower back, and shoulders. Having this kind of flexibility allows you to move freely and dynamically on the bike. It acts as a literal shock absorber, and it significantly reduces that awful stiff feeling you get the day after a grueling ride.
All right, on to part 3, mastering technique and recovery, focusing on efficiency and rest.
Here is the real crucial point. All that physical engine building we just talked about, it is completely useless without technical efficiency. You need to spend time actively practicing things like cornering, braking, bunny hops, track stands, and slow speed balance. Because by mastering these specific technical skills, you can conserve massive amounts of energy. You'll just ride far more efficiently, which means you're going to have way more gas left in the tank for the end of the trail when everybody else is starting to fade. Now, I want to slow things down for just a second because this next part is vital.
Fitness does not improve during your workouts. It improves while your body recovers. Pushing yourself to the limit every single day is a massive trap. Overtraining will leave you feeling sluggish and absolutely skyrocket your risk of injury. True measurable gains happen when you rest. So that means prioritizing quality sleep, dialing in your nutrition, staying hydrated, and actually honoring your rest days.
Which brings us perfectly to part 4, the weekly training blueprint, where we put it all together.
Okay, so we've got the engine built, we've fortified the chassis, and we understand how crucial recovery is. Now walk through the sample weekly plan with me. Monday kicks off with strength and core. Tuesday, you shock the system with that interval ride. Wednesday is entirely dedicated to a recovery ride or some mobility work. Thursday, well, we embrace the pain of hill repeats. Friday brings us right back to strength and balance exercises. Saturday is your big, long trail ride to really build that base endurance. And Sunday, an easy recovery ride or complete rest. It's a pretty fantastic, screenshot-worthy blueprint that perfectly balances your intensity, stability, and that all-important rest throughout the week. Now, of course, you should absolutely adjust that schedule based on your own personal fitness level and the time you have available, but never, ever forget the fundamental rule of all this. Just ride. Getting better at mountain biking ultimately just means getting out there consistently. Every single ride, even the short or super easy ones, builds your handling, your confidence, and that absolutely necessary subconscious trail awareness. Which brings us to our final takeaway from the guide. Consistency is often more important than intensity. Honestly, the best training plan out there isn't the most punishing one. It's the one you can actually stick to over time. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Is your next weekend ride going to be just another random pedal in the woods, or is it going to be the calculated start of your peak performance journey? Thanks so much for exploring this guide with me.